Howdy, mates. How are we all doing? Good afternoon. It is Monday, March 29th, 2021. And this is a rare occasion. I'm usually not able to do videos on Mondays. But, fortunately, we've had a magnanimous Monday, so we've had some spare time that we could go out and visit the famed Gallagher Fen State Nature Preserve. I have done videos here in the past. But this time, I kind of want to give a glimpse of the fen during the beginnings of springtime. And for those of you who have followed my content for a while, do you notice anything different from the last time? If you thought that the land looks a bit more exposed, well, you'd be correct. Not too long ago, there must have been a prescribed burn that was here, because as you can see, there's still some dark as to where you can see the carbon, like up here. And as a matter of fact, it must have been a couple of weeks ago, because now you're actually starting to see some new growth of sedges which have edges. And as a matter of fact, this particular fen is similar to that of Cedar Bog State Nature Preserve. So fens are essentially a type of wetland, as it were. And I just wanted to show you guys this little stream. And that's another characteristic of fens, is they always have a stream. The water's always flowing, even though it may not look like it. I assure you, it is. And there you go. See how clear that water is? That is pure groundwater, which will eventually discharge into the Beaver Creek, which is not too far from here. But technically, you could almost drink this water if you wanted, considering that it's from an aquifer. But fascinating fact about fens is they're actually a very difficult environment to survive in. You may be thinking, why? Why is that? Well, fens, particularly this one, for example, is known to have a very alkaline environment. So that basically means the pH of the soil that's found here, the pH is rather high. And usually, when there's a high alkalinity, it's a bit tougher for certain plants and organisms, like certain types of fishes, to survive. Because this water also maintains a relatively constant temperature year-round, approximately 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So actually, I felt the water not too long ago, and it actually feels quite appealing. And then when it is in the summer, say 90-some degrees, this water will feel rather cool. But then, not too long ago, when it was still practically winter, the water felt rather warm. But that's the amazing part. That water maintains a relatively constant temperature year-round. So I just want to show you one more little portion, and then should about wrap up the video. Give me a second, fellas. Whew. Whoa. Did I just teleport? How remarkable. And we're at another section of the fen. And now you can really see the soil that is found here, also known as marl. And you figure the water, the groundwater, it's highly charged with calcium and magnesium bicarbonate. And as a matter of fact, when the water reaches up towards the surface, it will create a precipitate, also known as a solid product, known as calcium carbonate. And essentially that creates that limestone. So you could say that soil is very limey, as it were. But just think about this. Just close your eyes for a moment and just imagine you go back 15 or so thousand years ago, and you're at the edge of a glacier, right? Just as it is receding, this fen essentially represented the edge of a glacier. And what's remarkable about these glaciers is they brought over a combination of Atlantic coastal plain plants, which are to the east, and then the boreal plants, which were typically towards the west. So you figure these glaciers practically picked up these seeds as kind of like a dump truck, right? So what happened was, as the glacier was receding, all those materials and seeds and various rocks that it was holding, you could say the glacier was like the dump truck, and all that material it dumped out of its truck bed and left it right here as a result. And that's also how we have these hills that are behind me, made up of marly peat, which are essentially moraines too. I know I'm throwing a bunch of terminology, but the bottom line is glaciers were here at a certain time in history. And as I mentioned earlier, since you can only see a limited amount of plants, I'm going to list a couple for you guys. I mean, you can't really see them quite yet at the moment, but give it another couple of weeks and you'll start to see a bit more blooming going on. But some plants that you'll see, particularly in this fen meadow where we are right now, you get to see Grassa parnassus, Calms lobelia, prairie dock. There's a couple more. Arrowgrass, and just various sedges, which are usually a bit harder to find. But yeah, I have a lot of grand memories here. Point in fact, this was one of the first places where I began volunteering for the Clifton Gorge State Nature Preserve with Michelle Comer. So shout out, as a matter of fact. So what they would do was they would go to various state nature preserves, and they still do it throughout Clark County, Logan County, Champaign County, and even Greene County. And they'll do certain tasks, such as invasive plant removal, woody vegetation removal, or, as per se, prescribed burns as well. So, thank you, Michelle, as a matter of fact, for introducing me to some of that management that happens to allow these places to be sustained. But yeah, that's awesome. And you can also see, like, even some rocks that are along the field here. Those are just examples of erratics, and I'm not talking about children either. No, these are all glacial erratics, rocks that were passed down by the glaciers. But we have to preserve these habitats, as they tell us a glacial historical past, and since there's really not many other habitats like them, and where we can find rare plants that are endemic to this particular fen, which otherwise would not survive in any other form of environment whatsoever. So even if you were to bring them up past this hill, it's very likely they would not survive. So alrighty, thought I would share that piece of information with you guys and interpretation. Hope you got something out of it. Highly recommended spot. It's fairly close to my university. And, you know, in these videos, I'm just trying to bring a little more personality into them, just to make that interpretation even better. So if you guys want to leave any reviews of how my videos are doing, you guys are more than welcome to. Feedback is always key. And forgive me for the length of this video, but I had plenty to share. So alright, hope all of you enjoy your Monday, and Journey on a Journey is outwards. Take care, folks.